104. I'm Nick Good, and today we've got an incredibly special guest who is near and dear to all of our hearts, Mrs. Kris Wise, and we're going to be talking about why mega agents join a team. We're going to get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
All right. Episode 104 of the only real estate podcast worth listening to. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Messed it up. Oh,
Nick,
dude.
I hope you're watching right now.
I was going to just dunk all over him when I was flawless today.
Man.
We didn't get 10 seconds in. Welcome, coming to you live from the Sphere Rocket VA studio. Before we get started today, I do want to give our friends at Sphere Rocket VA a shout out. If you are looking to add some leverage in your business, especially if you're trying to do it with a little bit less overhead than normal, check out sphererocketva.com. Justin Nelson and the people over there are absolutely crushing it with the services that they provide. I will tell you, we have had a lot of experience with a lot of different talent of all shapes and sizes and geographies in our business. And the people from Sphere Rocket VA have always done an amazing job for us. So we utilize them in our business, and I would recommend that you do as well. And I also want to give a shout out to our main man, Mortgage Mike, over at Mortgage Mike of Texas. He's actually with USA Mortgage now. That is Michael DeBacker, our main man on the lending side. So we will scroll his information below as well. But I don't want to take all day just talking about our kick-ass sponsors. We've got a super special guest today, Kris Wise.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Kris is one of our business partners. She's never been on the show, and that's
No, I have not.
hurts my shit. You know why? She's always busy as hell.
Yeah, she's got too much other stuff going on. She's recording her own videos. She's like,
That's
I don't need
true.
you small potatoes,
No,
bastard.
she legit walked in.
And
She's like, when is
I-
this going to be over?
Yeah, because I got shit to do.
I got
And I
4
was-
closings next 48 hours. I gotta be
I
somewhere.
was thinking it was because I was a woman that I couldn't come into
What?
this room.
Oh.
And here, let's
That hurts.
just address that particular situation. We get caught up being so bro on this show.
I
You
know.
are so bro.
It is very bro, but we I would say our actual guest ratio when we have guests.
When we
on,
have guests.
Okay, so you like the ladies.
we bring the. It's a lot more lady heavy, but when it's just us 3 idiots on here,
I
it is
know.
so
I know
bro.
we don't have enough guests, but we try to make as many female guests as possible.
I know.
but
Okay.
we-
Okay.
We know where we stand. We can't have women on until we expose for the stupidity that
Exactly.
is the show.
Which is everybody will know what frauds we are. Anyway, so today, we're talking about why this is going to be an awesome episode, because we always try to bring a lot of really actionable, valuable advice
Yeah.
on this show. As much as we drink White Claws and just BS around and stuff, we actually do try to bring like good stuff as much as we can. I believe that the industry is shifting, and I have said this for a very long time. I think that other people are sort of seeing this now. Not that I'm like some sort of. I almost said, who's the guy that makes predictions?
Oracle
Oh,
or
no.
the
What? Nostradamus.
Which-
I almost said
Nostradamus.
Amadeus, and I knew I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew that wasn't right. So
Every
I'm glad I didn't say it.
Every time I hear the name Amadeus, it takes me back to like 1989
Oh, yeah.
at Good Time Skating Rink in Garland, Texas, which is now a post office.
Are you
where
talking
we used
about
to
Falco?
speed skate to Rock Me Amadeus by Falco. And when I was a kid, that was the coolest damn song I had ever heard in my life.
Okay, well, let me age myself. So in the 80s, I was at the Start Club in Dallas.
Nice.
Doing
nice.
things that shouldn't be done.
Oh,
Nice,
geez.
nice.
Oh, man, I love it. That's a different podcast.
That
Yeah,
is
that's
totally
right.
But we try to bring as much action. I think that the industry is changing. I'll tell you right now. I think the days of the individual agent are pretty numbered. I think that the industry, like most other industries, is in a state of flux, in a state of transition towards larger groups of like-minded people. You can call them teams, corporations, companies, whatever. They are larger groups of like-minded people that are sharing resources in the pursuit of providing better service to their clients, more opportunity for themselves, streamlining their business, providing economies of scale in their business, running with more diversified overhead, things like that. And I just think that's our business isn't easy. That is a more efficient way to run a large business that serves more people. And so Kris was a mega agent rainmaker before she became our director of sales for our Flower Mound location. I'll just tell you right now, and I'm sorry if I hurt everybody else's feelings, probably our most valuable business partner, and somebody who is just a dear, dear, dear friend of mine as well, and both of ours. And I want to talk a little bit about our journey today, because this is something, Kris and us partnering is something that really hasn't been done too much in the real estate industry.
That's true.
Meaning a $20 million producer partnering with a couple of knuckleheads and really growing a phenomenal business in just a couple of years. It's not something you see a lot. And I think the reason that you don't see it a lot is because it's just something that's not broached by a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people out there that are still really trying to build the ship themselves, rather than just going and being the best version of themselves that they can be and the best version of their individual business they can have. So that's kind of what I want to dive into today and really kind of explore that story. But First things first, why don't, as we always do with guests, your 30-second elevator speech. Who is Kris Wise? Introduce yourself. I get to put you on the spot now.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. I was an accountant for almost 17 years and got my accounting degree from Texas A&M. Always loved houses. So I did accounting because it paid well and allowed me to buy homes, fix them up, and then sell them. And that was my passion. The harder I worked at work, the more I did on my house.
Yeah.
And I had my first house was over in the Lovers and Inwood area of Dallas. Oh, wish I would have kept that house. Wish I would have kept that house.
Yeah, you do. You wouldn't be here right now.
No, I wouldn't be. But I didn't. I sold it for a whopping $88,000 and thought I just made a ton of money.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and did a lot of the work myself. So that was exciting.
If you ever see the market right now and you're like, I can't believe homes in McKinney cost what they cost right now. Like, imagine a home at Lovers and Inwood once cost under $100,000.
Yes.
You couldn't buy a tree over there for that.
That's right. Got an FHA loan, 7.75%, 3% down.
7 3/4.
I was so leveraged. Oh, well, so that was that. And then when I got married in 2002, my husband said, we both had very good incomes. What do you want to do? And I said, I've always wanted to be a realtor. Really? Okay. And so that started it. So since 2002, and I built a business that at the point that he got laid off about 5 years ago, our whole, I guess, lifestyle didn't have to change because I had built a good enough business that financially we were fine, and that was great.
Yeah.
So, but then I realized after 17 years of doing it, I was so burned out.
Yeah.
It was like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every
day. And gosh, that was so rough, because you had the headaches, you had the expenses. I was netting like 28% of what we were grossing.
Oh, shit. Really?
And I'm like, I had agents that, I want more leads. And it's like, oh my God. So then I had to pay money to then give them leads because my business was 100% sphere.
Yeah.
So there was only so much of me to go around, and just feeding these agents was a challenge and expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at the point after 17 years at that point that I'm like, I'm ready to do something else.
Yeah.
And then Herg came to me and said, hey, we've got this great model system, and I love models and systems.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, okay, let me do this. And, just through talking, it wasn't a good fit for me to be the leader because it was going to give me all the headaches that I was trying to get away from.
Same.
And so I was like, I don't know about this. And so it was a little rocky at the beginning, just in talking through it. And then it became apparent. And you know what? I love it when people can see something that you don't see.
Sure.
And they said, you know what? I think you ought to meet these two guys and see if maybe you could be a part of them. And I was like, okay. And so then we went to one of your events, and I was like, oh, hell no.
I love that was the initial reaction.
Absolutely.
Like,
It's not
oh
an
my
uncommon
God.
first reaction.
This is like a train wreck, and I'm not sure.
This guy's barely speak English.
Well, because I think there's something to that, right? We've said this on the show, but I always love it when there's the social proof of it happening. The reality is, like, Brian and I deal with this all the time. I've gotten so excited when somebody decide we just partner with somebody else who's like, look, I'm gonna tell you, after our initial conversation, I was like, nah, we're good. But after talking to you guys more and stuff, like, now I see the value and I understand. And it's such an interesting thing to have people coming in like already poo-pooing it, and then they turn around and it's amazing. You hit on something that I want to expand on a little bit because I think it's the most common misconception by any agent, not even just mega agents, about why they don't partner with teams. They don't really understand the expense side. Like when you just hit on that, like the amount of money you net when you start doing real volume and you don't have any systems, you can make 150 doing 15 units.
Yes.
And you can make 150 doing 40
Oh,
units.
absolutely.
Right? Like there's a way for you to do twice as much business and not make any more money if you're not systematized, if you don't have models, if you're just piecemealing everything together, which, I'll let you expand on that. That's probably the way when you came in, I felt like what you had been doing. I know it's what I had been doing prior to joining too.
And I was a system person, so I was developing all those systems, but I would have to like develop at night and then lead gen during the day. And it was like, oh my gosh, it was just really a challenge.
Yeah, 100%.
And we weren't all buttoned up. So, I would just say, well, go sell houses. That's what kind of training are you going to get? So that was definitely a challenge. But then seeing where it's already been built and then just plug in and then expand from that. That's been awesome. And when I looked at my 2020 financials, when I was working on that for my taxes, I'm like, dang, I think I netted like 50%.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Really?
And the time back too, right?
Yes.
Like you have to, I think
less headaches.
For any team partnership to make sense, you have to inherently value your own time.
Yes.
If you're the type of person who's like, I don't care, I'll go take 2 hours to run over here to do this because I wouldn't pay $20 to somebody else. You literally just told me that you are a $10 an hour employee.
Yes.
If you tell me you won't spend $20 to get 2 hours of your time back, right? And if you don't have an inherent value of your time, I also think it makes a partnership a little bit maybe less mentally valuable for somebody.
Right.
And I know I was this way. And and now that I know you this way. We valued the time get back so much. And that's another huge part of the partnership as well.
And I was highly leveraged. I had 3 admins, and that was one of the things that just doesn't work. It works because, I was fine, but I was paying for that. And it was because they were not systematized like they should be. And so it took 3.
Yeah.
And so then learning about HERG, it certainly was like, oh, okay, I can get them plugged into this, or your admins and become my admins, and it was great.
Well, and
happened.
Those headaches never go away, right? Like we choose. There's a great book that there's what is it? The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. It's good, but there's some other ones that are more of a like
nicer
grown-up books
like you can put on your coffee table.
But he says something there about like you get to choose the problems that you care about or whatever. Like understand, even nowadays, right? Like I'm not in production. That doesn't mean that I don't work a full-time job. Like my job is putting out all of the fires of all the shit that's breaking all the time around here, right? So I only say that to say a lot of the mindset around I'm going to build this myself. Understand that job is being the rainmaker and the person behind the scenes, bringing value to everybody else. It's not like there's some finish line in the future where you're like, I'm done. I built it. Yay. Now we'll get back to what we were doing before. It never ends. Businesses are living, breathing organisms. I promise you something, two things, either something will go wrong all the time, every day, and you'll fix it, or there'll be some new innovation that when you're in growth mindset, you will learn about. Like I literally walked into Jesse's office today. I was like, bro, here's how we're going to make our emails move with video. It's going to be fucking amazing, right? Like now we got to solve this problem that I brought to the table, right? There's just always a new thing. And so if you're trying to be in production mode and feed everybody as well, man, you understand you are doing 2 people's jobs all of the time. And it was just, just kind of the stars align when Matt and I first became business partners, because the reality was I was happy to take a little bit of a financial step back to find my lane. Right.
Yeah.
Like we did not build this overnight by any stretch of the imagination. Literally, when we first started this business, I was just hoping to God Matt sold some houses because that was what was putting food on my table as well. And I was in the background being like, bro, I'm going to tell you, the shit that I'm building is going to blow your mind. Wait for it because it's going to happen. But that's all, you know what I mean? And if you're trying to do both at the same time, it's very, very, very difficult.
You're doing
you need
both
that
half-assed.
team.
I mean, you're not doing it all.
Yeah.
And so that has been, and what's been cool is I've brought problems to you and
Sure.
you've solved them. Whereas before, people were bringing shit to me
To
and I
you.
had to solve it. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, and tell me if you experienced this, right? Like us as people who are out there producing all the time, wanting to focus just on the dollar productive activities, I get really bogged down in this crusty upper level of stuff that I know is not time consuming, but I can't even find the time to start scraping it away to see what's under it.
Yeah.
And for me, that was one of the biggest advantages to partnering with somebody who was a problem solver in ways that I wasn't, because it allowed me to take stuff to and be like, dude, I can't see around this problem.
Exactly.
Will you give me some kind of path? Like, will you talk a little bit about like how that, because I know that's been some of your journey too, right?
Yeah. We used to do these brochures, which were great.
Yeah.
They were very impactful. But when houses are selling in 47 seconds, you don't need a brochure, but the information needs to get to those buyers. So, I said, hey, Brian, how are we going to do this? It took us a while, but we came up with the QR code that now links to that information. And that's awesome.
And it does a bunch of cool stuff on the back
It
end. You don't know about.
does.
It
I
puts you into a
know.
lot of retargeting
I
audiences and stuff.
know. And that's what's so cool. That's how you build your people who are like, hey, I keep seeing you everywhere. That's by design.
Yep.
And it's not on the grocery cart, baby.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But then to speak to that, you sold 11 homes last month.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to build out while you're running that many
Personally.
appointments. Personally,
Now,
yes.
my team of 5 agents, when I had, we sold 11 in a month.
Right. But then you're also that person that solves all those problems they
All
bring
those
to
problems.
you too,
Yes.
right?
And so that tells you, that's a testimony to what leverage can do for you.
Yeah.
To know that I managed 11, transactions without the details.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to worry about those.
I just think it's also a testament, honestly, and I'll just kind of put this out there very blatantly. This is a testament to the idea that when you're joining a team, or we don't call it joining a team, merging your business.
Yeah.
That's what we do, right?
I definitely
It's
merged.
what we do over here, right? Like you're not the idea. I think the zeitgeist around it is I'm taking a step back. I'm not going to make I'll tell you right now, just blatantly, Kris makes more money than I do because she sells a shitload of houses, right? Doesn't matter if what title I have around here. She makes more than I do because she is in a position where she goes out and is the best version of herself every day, right? So it's just not this thing where there's this servitude aspect of it. Our job is to pump everybody up to be the best version they can be. That's quite frankly something that would have been so far off your radar, just a way to add more people to your database through what you're already doing. Not that you couldn't figure it out, but that why would you want to when you're running that many appointments all the time?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I told you the other day, I said, wind me up and put me in front of people. Let me do my thing. And then you take care of everything else.
100%.
And I can even say too, just for my business, watching what you've been doing, especially since the beginning of the year, has been inspirational in me getting some of my stuff, because I'm still very scattered all over the place with some of my lead generation, some of how I fought. There's just a lot of gaps in specific things. Watching how you have gotten singularly focused and literally just kind of grinding through, little stuff, like being overwhelmed by email, right? There are agents listening to this right now that are overwhelmed by their email inbox all the time. I feel you.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's a constant source of anxiety for me, but that type of that type of communication is always voicemails, right? There's just always stuff, always people to call back. And watching what you've been able to do, and then conversely, the numbers you've put up on the other side of all the work has been really crazy. What do you think it's like? Where was the turning point for you specifically, and where you were able to really start focusing on the business and start relinquishing some of that stuff? Because you came in very reluctant to let go of a lot of
Right.
Well, and actually, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And to that, that's a great story that's near and dear to my heart. Is Kris had a lot of trust in us, which we had to earn pretty quickly, because we had to do some things that made Kris pretty uncomfortable in the beginning too. And she really hung in there, and it was not smooth. I want you guys to understand, Kris didn't just come in and just start being up. We were it all just was hunky dory all the time. This was a growth process from the beginning. So there's definitely probably a fulcrum point where things started to really look a lot more bright for you.
Yeah. Hey, I remember about a year ago, I was crying.
Right? Absolutely. Now I see you crying because you're
I can't deposit the money.
Yeah,
fast
exactly.
enough.
Yes.
Too many zeros. I don't know how much number that says.
Exactly. How am I going to make it to all these closings today?
Yeah, exactly.
It's only 24 hours.
I need a
That's
faster
amazing.
vehicle.
That's amazing. Just screaming from closing to closing. You know, what was that for you though,
gosh.
right? Because I'm on enough calls with you to understand like the moment, like a lot of the business you're closing right now, like you had an opportunity 90 days ago to really
Yes.
focus on stuff, but that
Yeah.
also isn't the reason why you are where you are, right?
Mhm.
A lot of that is because I think like you have hit some sort of stride with this that even I 3 years in haven't really managed to find. I just want to hear, like, I'm legitimately as like a person who's also watching the show, like I want to hear about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, anybody who knows me knows my biggest source of business is Facebook.
Yep.
And, at times I spend a lot of time on it, and the other times when I'm really busy, I don't.
Yep.
But that's been it. Now, what's been really cool, and this is because of the team, is you guys will either at our morning power up, will say something, and then I'll do a Facebook Live about it.
Yeah.
And coming from the heart and always coming from contribution, I think that's what's been really cool, is just to get ideas from the team and then go implement. Imagine that.
All right.
The hive mentality of
Yeah.
a team too, I think is, we're talking about value, and I don't want anybody to think this is just straight pitch for her. We're having Kris on because we know her business and this makes sense. And we also understand there are super shit dog teams out there who don't bring any value. This is more for an agent who's even thinking about this. This isn't
Yeah.
a pitch to be on a team. This is just, these are the types of things you should be looking for
Yeah.
if you're even thinking about a partnership with anybody. This is very similar going into a listing or buyer's appointment and showing them where the pitfalls are and being like, hey, while you're talking to other people, make sure to look out
Yeah.
for this.
Yep.
Because I do think I hear so many agents that had bad experiences with team where there was
Oh,
no
definitely.
value.
There's
right?
agents who had bad experiences with my team.
Of course.
I mean,
when I was
Same.
so for the people who are new watching this, understand like there was a 14-month period where I was the CEO of Herd Group DFW. I hired 17.
I wouldn't have come.
Nobody would have. There were 17 agents that I hired in those 14 months. One of them made the transition to Brian and I's merger.
Yeah.
One.
And they
Which
didn't
means
last long.
16 people opted out.
Yeah.
Right. Now, some of them I canned because I couldn't figure my stuff out and they couldn't get in line with me. But I also think like where, like, and this is a rhetorical question, but one of the things you have to ask yourself is what's the value in just seeing a problem before it becomes a problem and then you land a listing because of it, right?
Mhm.
Our morning masterminds, for lack of
Yes.
a better word, have provided a ton of opportunity for that for me, right? We do it every day. And I bet you 3 times a week, somebody says something that I'm like, dude, that's something I need to immediately implement, right?
Exactly.
And that's another, for me, that's always been a huge value because I'm not the most free thinker in the world. I get bogged down in just like the black and white of a problem. So having somebody else walk
Exactly.
alongside you, that's hugely valuable too.
Yeah, I love that.
It's almost one of those unconscious things, right? I always talk about the story. Like, you don't remember why you remember stuff sometimes. Like, I remember cheat codes from Super Nintendo when I was 8 years old, and I don't know why I remember them. Like, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but like some stuff will just stick with you. And it's just
Yeah.
like this osmosis thing. Like, there's one time, I'm not a Cowboys fan at all. Sorry, guys. I'm a Giants fan. But there's one time I was watching a game and just talking about Jason Witten. I was like, Jason Witten went to Tennessee, didn't he? And then I Wikipedia'd it, of course, because that's what we do. We just screw around on our phones. And I was like, oh, he did go to Tennessee. And I don't know why I knew that. Somebody told me that sometime a long time ago. But like, it's that same thing of like, when we talk about, I don't want people to discount the idea of like, oh, the morning power. So like, no, like that idea of constantly talking about what's going on in your world with people who are operating at a very high level, you don't realize in the moment what it's going to do for you. You don't always leave the power up like, I am transcended. Like, no, you leave the power up, that was good. And then 3 weeks later, something happens and then you take an action. You go like, that shit was from the power up 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like that constant flow of energy and information between people who are all like-minded is really what it's all about. And again, that goes back to what Kelderman was just saying before. This is not a herd pitch, but this is if you are thinking about possibly joining an expansion or a team of that sort, the things to look for are things like that. I would say the other thing too is what I do hang my hat on, our hats on, all of ours, on what we're able to do in this business is we build systems around the transactional side, around the operational side, around everything. The actual side of this that is growing the business, that is how do you get more deals? we were talking to somebody about this yesterday, and like, what is it that you guys, have people do, or this, that, and the other thing? And I was like, no. I was like, you need to reverse that question. What do you need us to do? Our deal is we want to find your strengths and pour gasoline on them,
exactly
right?
it.
Chris operates her business way
Very
different than
different.
Matt does, right? When we talked about getting a lot more business from your Facebook group, we weren't like, you need to make more calls to the people from the Facebook group. Like, that'd be bananas, right?
I don't call people.
No, we were like, how do we get you in front? We came up with the business interview idea. And then even when we did that was a little bit time intensive. So we're like, how do we automate these 6 things to make so that Kris could just show up and do it, right? Like, we found what was going to work for you. And now we're just pouring gasoline on it. The same way with Matt's agent referral business and all that type of stuff. So it's finding the sweet spot between having a lot of structure around certain things and having a lot of flexibility and nimbleness around the growth aspect of it and the actual productivity side of it,
And I think what's happened is you've created stuff that's scalable. And that, it goes back to when you're a solo agent and your system is Post-it notes and 3x5 cards. That's not scalable.
No.
And I remember hiring admins and they would like, well, I just keep it in this book. And it's like, okay, that's not scalable.
No, dude.
And they didn't understand. And so I bring a problem to you or a situation, and then you create something that's scalable. And that's because then I can do it 100 times and it's not going to overwhelm the back office.
Yep. And that goes to the training aspect of it too. Like, there were some people sitting at this table today that were like all like weirded out because I sat all over their computer all by myself very, very quietly for a couple of hours just doing my work. And then somebody texted me that they kind of forgot how to do something. And so I started a Zoom call with myself and started recording it. I was like, hey, Joan, all right, here's how we get in there. Like, what? But that scalability, again, that goes back to when you're having to be all things to all people all the time. It is very tough to build out a robust platform where you can plug people into. Like, the reality is now we're going through some structural changes right now on the operational side. And we are hitting the ground running with it because it's all already there. You know what I mean? And that is the part of this that, like, there's levels to this, just like anything else. That the level that a lot of people get stuck at is, I know how to do everything, but it's all up in here.
That's right.
And it's a tough place to live.
Exactly.
Because no one's ever going to be as good as you at the things that you're great at. And you don't need people to be as good as you. You need to be really, really adequate and then get even better than you over time.
Yep.
You need people to take what you've built and run with it. But if you don't have what you've built documented and ready to unpack and just run with, they're not going to know what to do. You got the most talented people in the world doing things that are completely unproductive because you haven't put it together in a way that they can go and then grow it, And so that, again, all of those things take time away from being out there serving clients.
Exactly.
Which
and
is where the money comes from.
Yeah. And like what Matt was saying earlier, it's dollar productive activities. And what can you pay, a high school student in the afternoon to go do for you?
Sure.
Instead of you doing it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense for you to do it.
We've got high school students in our business doing stuff right now.
Yep.
We take all comers.
And I've employed high school, it seems like they're always guys, but probably for the last 7 years as runners. And because I knew that I could get them for a lot cheaper.
Yep.
And they could go do those things. Now, I always made sure that they drove our very covered van, so and I told them, you better drive right. Because you got my name all over that.
You better not cut somebody off like an idiot.
That's right.
We're about to explore that option here at her group DFW. I do not like that. So we share we don't share a listing photographer, but the guy who takes our team photos is also a gentleman that works for Nick Good. So every time he shows up to take new team photos, which you do about once a quarter, he rolls up in a car with Nick's fucking face on it.
God.
It drives me crazy.
It's crazy. It's funny, and I've said this to Nick, and I would say it if he was here, but it's like I keep telling him, I'm like, you need to rewrap that car. And he's like, why? And I was like, bro, that doesn't even.
No,
hey, you're a bearded, svelte monster now. Like
that's like fat face, clean shaven Nick.
Yeah,
he's
like
skinnier and got a beard now.
Yeah, he's got like no beard.
Looks
hilarious.
ridiculous.
I know.
That's like the realtors who still have their glamour shots.
Yes,
exactly.
Chris posted some 90s glamour shots on Facebook the other day. They look incredible. I love them so
Doing
much.
A fact-finding mission right
so
now.
Much.
As we speak.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna put you on the spot again.
Oh God.
What is next for you and for us?
You know
It
what?
doesn't even have to be involving residential sales.
No, I know. The next thing for me, and that's something that I definitely want to mentor with you about, is different streams of income. Because when you're doing the grind,
Mhm.
you get paid. That's great.
Yeah.
But
That's
then when you
Chris and
stop
I are
grinding,
actually already involved in an investment
yes,
company
we are.
together.
We are.
But yeah, when you stop grinding, the money stops.
Then the money
flowing.
stops. You're out of commission.
Oh.
You're
I just found these
listless.
glamour shots.
Man, can you hold? Is it you okay with that? Put them up in front
Oh
of
my
the
God,
camera,
my
dude. Give
entire
me the
life
good
is
ones.
on Facebook.
Jesse will have to tell me if it's coming in okay.
Get closer.
Get closer. Can't tell. Hopefully no weird text
I was
messages
rocking
come through
about
the
the
meantime.
120
They're
pounds.
so great.
That,
Oh my
they look. I
God.
just love. it's not about you. I just love the style back
Yeah.
then.
I like
just
the
love
I like
everybody's
the one
style.
with the sunglasses on where she's got the thing overhead and then she's just
It's so good. I love it.
so good. It's awesome.
That photographer was awesome.
And
Okay,
give a little
so on this side of the outside of all this other stuff that we're talking about,
Yeah.
you legitimately are on pace to sell about 100 homes this year.
Wow.
How are you generating so much business without the? I wouldn't say without the grind. You have a grind, but your grind is serving people, not
Mhm.
getting people
Yeah.
to agree to work with you, right? What is it that you're doing that's working so well?
So I think the Keller Williams mantra come from contribution. So, a lot of my Facebook stuff is educating people.
Yeah.
And it's not always about real estate. In my Facebook group, when we had the tornado, I think a few weeks back, I got on a Facebook Live and I said, okay, for all you transplants, here's where you need to go.
Yeah.
You need to go to the room without any glass, because we do have so many people who've moved into the area. They're like, what the, is happening? And so I think people look at me as a trusted resource for a lot of things other than just housing.
Sure.
And so just doing that. And I get a lot of come list me calls, and it's just, I'm putting that content out there really to help people. And then in return, I get to get some business.
I think there's this thing that we have in real estate where it's simple, but it's not easy, is what we say a lot, right?
Yes.
And I think the not easy part of it is like, I was a victim to this for a long time too. I was very self-conscious about myself and my business sometimes. Like, I would go and prospect all day just to avoid talking to people that I already knew.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't that crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's something you seem to have never struggled with. Like, business becomes so much easier when you just do the simple things that you already know you should do. Like,
Yes.
the thing that you've done the best is just be a resource for people in all things. And for some reason, we have such a difficult time getting over, whatever that fear-based mechanism is, right? People won't take me seriously. Oh, people will, think I'm being too sales, whatever it is. Like, you are just a sweet, amazing person who helps people. And damn it, if that doesn't help your business, right? Like, but we try to avoid all activities sometimes that involve that. And I can't understand why that is in a lot of ways. And I say that as a person who was formerly like that for a long time, for the first few years of my business. What is it about, especially newer agents coming in the industry, when we're like, you got to connect with your database, you got to do this, what is it about that keeps people from taking the actions that they know they should be taking?
Well, I knew I was supposed to call people.
Sure.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And my broker said to me, you better get damn good at doing something else.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And so then I became the person who knew a guy. Do you know anybody who can, roto-root my whatever? Yes, I've got my list. I published my list on my website so that it's very easy for people. I used to do refrigerator magnets with all of our people. And so that was how I became known, was because I knew a guy or gal. And then it's, expanded with my very hyper local Facebook group. But so that's how it started, was just, I was a resource. So when I did call people, I would say, hey, do you have any home projects that you're planning? Because I've got great resources. And then, they would say, oh, I was thinking about this. And while I've got you on the phone, anybody who wants to buy or sell a home. And so that was very easy to do. Now, Facebook and email and all of that has kind of replaced the phone call piece of it, because people are coming to me
But it's the same
Same
idea.
thing.
You've now created a place where not only do you provide value and resources to people, but they can provide resources to one another in an environment that you're fostering, right?
Yes. Oh,
which
yeah.
is genius,
Yeah.
And I just think that's it's just such a simple idea that's maybe not easy for people to implement, but man, is it better than pounding the phones all day.
Exactly.
You know?
And the crazy thing is people will say to me, how do I start a Facebook group? Even one of our agents, I'm mentoring her on that. And it's like, you start and you invite your 5 closest friends.
Yes. And then they're going to be
you're
your
gonna go,
beacons.
And then you say, each one bring one,
Yeah.
and then when you get to 100, you celebrate that you got to 100,
Yeah.
and then you're going to turn around 8 years later and it's going to be 15,000.
Yeah, 100%.
And, and then it's just a household name.
And there's a lot of ways to do it. I mean, we did this with the, our own group. We, once we hit a certain amount, we ran a contest for what do we do, like $100 Amazon gift card or whatever,
Right.
whoever could invite the most people in a week and stuff like that. Like there's the ways to do it, but yeah, again, it just goes back to, coming from contribution always in all ways is the way to get in front of more people, get that stickiness that we talk about,
exactly.
right? And I think that's just something that people are so not people, but some people that struggle are so kind of just like resistant to that idea. And I think it's because it's a self-conscious thing to kind of be it's a self-conscious thing to feel like you're kind of in the spotlight a lot. You know what I mean? It's easier to get rejected by people that you don't know. And so a lot of times people turn to like that sort of avenue or whatever. We still look, if you join this team right now, you're still making 1,000 phone calls your first week. That is like a rite of passage that we do.
Thankfully, I had a book of business that I came in with, and I didn't have to do that.
And look, it might be, here's the deal. I even know, and I'll say this out loud to the people that are listening right now that might be in their first week of being on this team. You're doing it because I want to know that you have the grit to do it. I don't even know if you'll get anything from it. I just want to know that you're that kind of badass. You know what I mean? But going forward in the real estate industry, that is not the way, I don't think, to grow your business long term. It is finding ways to provide value to people. I would like to think that's what we do on this show. I'd like to think that's what we do with our live training events and things like that. It's the same reason this business is growing. It's the same reason every agent who does its business will grow. If you can just find a way to contribute to people, that's what you've done in spades,
and not expect anything, and that's
anything.
And I think that's the key is don't go into it thinking, well, if I give you a plumber's name, you're going to give me a referral. That's not the case.
No.
Do you know how many people I've given plumbers to and then they list with somebody else?
And
I might curse them.
You might, but being able to do that and understand that again, that goes back to running your business like a business. Understand that you are not going to procure every single client all the time,
and I don't want to either.
But the flip side of that is too, we have a story for another agent on the team who lost a listing, asked for a referral, got a buyer referral from him, like a high-end buyer referral. So here's what I do know. If you're staying consistent in activity, all of the stuff that you do that you don't get rewarded for will come back to you in some other thing that you didn't do that falls in your freaking lap.
Yeah.
The work that you do today, sure, it shows up 90 days or however we want to break that down. But the activities of today don't necessarily lead to the appointment of today. Right?
Yep.
Different activities lead to different stuff. People come out of nowhere. You talk about the ability to use social media in a way to stay in contact with people and stay top of mind. That's something that I think you and I both do at a fairly high level.
Yes.
People don't have to ask me what I do. It's pretty abundantly clear. I got off a buyer consult with a person today who is in my world solely because of Facebook. We have never met in person, right? And they are now pre-qualified and ready to buy a house, and I am their choice. Right? They reached out to me. There was no part of that came from a phone call, that came from any type of lead generation where I was following up with them. It came off of what I naturally do, allowing people into my world and being just whoever I am. And they enjoyed that part, right?
Exactly.
And the other good thing about that is you don't have to, I say this on the show all the time, you don't have to deal with the rejection with social media. Like people will just opt out of your content if they don't like it. They rarely will leave a comment on their way out.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's great.
You're cleaning up the people that are not your audience.
Right.
And that is what it is.
And don't you want to work with people that you want to work with, not the ones you don't want to work with?
Of course.
And if we are real about who we are, we'll attract the people who appreciate us.
I drove by today on my way back from a luxury listing that we just took that we were doing a stage consultation on. I drove skibbity. And I drove by it was part of a 3 listing deal that I did at a significant discount.
Okay.
That I ended up firing the guy in all 3 of his listings after they were on the market. I had pictures taken. I mean, I was like probably 2 G's into all 3 of these listings because by the time we got the house on the market, it turns out that the guy was just a shady flipper who was doing everything super half-assed. And we had put a tenant in one of the previous houses, and the tenant's all of a sudden calling me like, hey dude, there's like legitimately like number 2 coming out of the shower. Like, I don't know what happened with the plumbing, but something is like really bad. And then the guy would not fix it or do anything about it. I was like, man, I'm not attaching my name to it.
Dude,
I remember when I fired those 3 listings, because again, doing the normal new real estate agent thing, I take it at a discount. Then I start immediately calculating the paychecks. Right. And I remember firing him and thinking, I am the worst real estate agent who has ever existed. I took terrible business. I spent money on it, right? Then I couldn't sell it. Then I had to fire the guy because he was such a train wreck. And as I drove by that house at my state in its current business, I looked at the person I was writing with. I was like, one of the shittiest listings I ever took is right down that street. And I remember almost crying when I lost all of that business, right? And I drove by it today and was like, shit's funny now, right? Like, it's so great to be in a position where you can look back at that stuff. And the only way to do it is to get some sort of like longevity in this business where you can look back at the stupid stuff you used to do and be like, my God, I am so glad my business is in a different place and I am doing things so differently now, right? I was so desperate back then that now it's not the same way anymore, right? And that's so nice.
I think that's just a good message though, man. It's like, because we all got those stories, right?
Oh,
Money we spend, stuff that's fallen through. Is just, if you are listening to this and you're kind of in that state right now, one, understand everybody goes through it. If you don't, I don't believe you. I think everybody goes through it in one state or another. 2, I will say we are in a state in the market right now where you may want to find a car that's already driving 60 miles an hour instead of trying to build it, you know?
Exactly.
I'm not saying that's with us or with anybody that we know, just in general. Right. I do believe we're in a state of transition right now.
Right.
In a big, big way. So
there's so many economies of scale.
Yeah.
I mean, just joining Herg brought Boomtown and some other tools that on my own I couldn't afford to provide for my team because they were big nuts to crack each month. And
it is just, I don't want to big time anybody, but some of the stuff we do on the back end when we do sit down with some, I mean, we face resistance like anybody else when we have conversations with people about possibly partnering or whatever. We're on the grind every day, you know, when we have people that sometimes talk to us about the things they're building or whatever. And I have to be really nice. And in my head, I'm like, bro, we're fucking we're far ahead of what you're doing right now.
Exactly.
But we have margin of error now because we've built this thing pretty big.
It's always the biggest thing that's going on too, right? Like I remember when I was starting out and doing, you know, in the teens of deals, like that felt like the biggest thing I had ever. I mean, you know, and again, I don't say this to anybody. I remember what it was like the first time I started closing 2 deals a month, and then 3 deals a month, and you were like, this will never end. It's the most amazing thing ever. Right. And then I got to I joined Herg the year before I joined, I had done 32 deals. And I realized that like 3 transactions a month was the point where my life started falling apart.
Oh yeah.
Like my divorce followed very quickly after all of this stuff. Right? Like there was a lot of stuff that had like a residual effects where I didn't realize how difficult it was. And I take it back to what I said earlier. You hit this mark where the money stays the same no matter how much business you start doing. Because you have to start dumping so much into it. Then the anxiety goes through the roof because now you've got employees relying on you. I've got a guy who I'm not even friends with anymore that I sold a house to that I hired as an admin and ultimately had to let go because I was broke.
Right.
And not only did I lose a whole tree of business off of that person, the friendship was ruined. Right. Yeah. And I was doing my best, but I just didn't have the ability to pay another employee. I wasn't productive enough and consistent enough in my activities to have somebody else's financial well-being rely upon me. Right.
Yeah.
And that was when I also learned what my one big thing was. I wanted to work and provide an environment where other people could come in and achieve their dreams under an umbrella of something that had been created under not even like something that I helped create, right? Because there's nothing that's happening here that's one person by any means, but it's just something that I was a part of that's big enough for somebody else to walk in and start doing the things that I thought. I remember the first time I made 6 figures, right? Like I'm not so far removed from that all of a sudden I'm so big time that's a number that I don't remember. Yeah. Right. Like that was life altering to look at a W-2 and recognize that you had made 6 figures and to be able to provide an environment where now we probably have 7 agents who are going to clear that this year, maybe even more.
Probably.
That's just me running quick numbers off my head.
Yeah, right? I would think. Yeah.
All these people can do that now under this umbrella of what Adam's created and what's been built here and all these different things. So if we just keep that moving down the line, of course everybody makes money, but what the fuck is the problem with that? You know what I mean? Like, if everybody's more profitable than they were when they were individuals,
Exactly.
why is that a negative thing for anyone involved, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the mental hurdle that so many people have to get over when even considering the team thing. They think it's just going to be an L for them in every single way. And a good partnership should not be that at all.
Right.
At all.
Not at all.
Exactly.
Well, Kris,
Exactly.
I love you so much.
And I love you guys. Oh my gosh, who would have thought?
I know.
I mean, really.
No,
We are
sincerely, yes.
The
Look at her.
oddest
She's got her
couple.
name tag on.
Nah.
She's so buttoned up.
Kris is everything
Okay,
we're
so I
not in the
sleep
best way.
this?
I'm wearing an Old Navy Long John style shirt to a listing appointment because this is about as dressed up as my ass gets.
exactly.
If you will know, Matt has a listing appointment. This is my exact listing appointment outfit. This is literally the only decent outfit I have. It's dark jeans and a green shirt. It makes my eyes pop. This is as good as I get, man.
I love it.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
it's
is-
so funny to even think of that because
Yeah.
I'm always in this. But I have to tell you, it's one less thing to think about in the morning.
Yeah.
For sure.
I put the same damn thing on every day. I
Yeah.
don't have to think about it. And it just goes on and it comes off late at night.
Nick subscribes to this theory as well.
Yeah.
He does.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Nick's just like, I got a polo with the good home team on it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, and if I go out on Friday night with my family, because that's family night, and that will not ever change, I'm still in this. And people say, "Oh, you're a realtor?" Yes.
There you go. Exactly. Happens. It works.
More beers.
More beers. Exactly. Join us for a drink.
That's why I'm drinking.
Exactly. I love it. Guys, if you had any idea or had any questions or thoughts about what the rest of our business looks like, these are the people that make it all work.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
pretty
So-
awesome around here.
I love
It
y'all
is.
so much, man. I can't wait to see what the future holds. I appreciate you joining us and sharing your wisdom.
Well, and I think it goes both ways. I mean, I've challenged you guys on some
Yeah.
things.
Definitely.
Oh, hell yeah.
You've definitely challenged me. And there's a synergy that a year and a half ago, I was like, oh boy, I hope
But that's
this
the
is gonna
thing.
work.
You come from a place of open-mindedness.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you, like, there's times where we fucking fight super
Oh,
hard,
yeah.
right? Like a lot. But here's the deal. You fight with people, I don't
Who
say
you
fight,
love,
who
but-
you respect and
Yeah.
love, and
Yeah.
it's different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we are all so bought in on the vision, and it's coming to fruition that you understand that we all want the same thing,
Mhm.
right? And we're all working towards the same outcome and the
Yeah.
same goals, and for one another, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to do anything without y'all.
No,
Right.
I don't even go on vacation without you guys at this point.
I know.
Right.
One of these days I'm going to be on vacation with you
That
because
we
y'all like
should
go to
do.
the most fun
It's
places.
so-
And then
but-
we go to fun places, but we're never together.
We're you went to Mexico at the same resort a week after
Yeah.
I left last
I know.
year.
I was looking at my calendar today to see like what my summer vacation was, and I saw Chris, Costa Rica. I was like, son of a. I'm gonna be in San Antonio on the river.
Oh, jeez. It's this thing that I heard a long time ago that was like, like wishing, like getting that mindset around like having bitterness about people having success, like you wish they would fail. And like my whole mindset was like I want everybody to succeed because otherwise, who would you hang out with?
Right.
Like if you were the only successful one, nobody would go
I'm
to
not
dinner.
hanging out with losers.
Nobody would go to dinner with you.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't afford it. I want everybody to make a shitload of money and be
Mhm.
super successful because otherwise I'd have to eat alone.
I just went to New
Yeah.
York for the first time, and I'm in love with the West Village, and I
Oh.
want to buy a place there. So I need to hang out with rich folks because we saw a
Exactly.
shitty place, and it was $8.5 million.
It was
Oh my God.
It was right across
Yep.
the street from the friend's apartment, like right across the street.
Oh.
Expensive as hell.
I was talking to my
bro.
financial guy yesterday. He's like, all right, well, that's cool. Let's figure out a way to make that happen. I was
Figure
like,
out. That's what you need people in your life is to say, this is where I want to be.
I want to live
How
in
do I
Friends
get
Village.
okay. Want to live in
Exactly.
Friends Village, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And shoot, if you're working towards a goal, you're like, let's do it.
Hell yeah, man. I love it.
Just give me the steps, or at least, you need to do this many deals. Okay, great.
Deal.
Set aside this much money. Okay, great.
Done.
And then you do it.
Yep. Well, look, if you've got any questions, obviously, about what we're talking about, feel free to reach out to us as always, right? Nick as well. Like this, again, this isn't a plug for her. This is a plug for good teams.
Nick's in Florida making us more money right now.
I
So
know.
this is for everybody.
This is for everybody. And the thing about this too, I want people to remember is like I want other real estate agents to succeed because one, by you being successful and productive, you're insulating our industry from the stupidity that's going around.
Oh,
So I
amen.
want
Yeah.
you to be a better real estate agent because ultimately that protects my money. The
Sure.
more people that think real estate agents are competent, the less they're going to like attack and come after us and make all of these other things more viable. We don't want to. So like any of you thinking that this isn't coming from a place of contribution, like the reality is it always is.
Let's all be better.
And I want everybody to be better. So when you're sitting down, thinking about teams, evaluating your business, make sure to ask intelligent questions about where you want to be. Don't take business advice from people who don't have a business that you don't want to replicate. Right? 100%. At the end of the day, that's the best piece of advice I can give you.
Yeah. I like that.
I like it too.
Well, Jesse, I hope you got us queued up because I need you to get us out of here. Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the only real estate group we're being a part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. Then go to that one. Thanks.